Hello everyone, how are you? Now I am with Ben Nichols, one of the most popular figures in paddle all around the world. Hi Ben, how are you?
Thank you, Jose. Thank you for that very generous introduction. It's great to be here and to join your podcast. And I'm here in a very cold, wintry England today, and wishing I was somewhere a bit hotter and a bit more climate-like.
Yeah, I saw how you are like managing and promote all paddle all around the world, especially in your country in UK and of course in United States. Can you bring us about like a feel of your project?
Absolutely. So my background is in sports PR and communications I've been working for about 20 years in the sports industry. I grew up playing lots of tennis and squash, and my career led me to paddle because I was working for in the UK Tennis Association, the LTA, and they look after paddle as well as tennis. And I was doing some PR for the British paddle team around the World Championships in 2022. And I saw an opportunity really when I was finishing that contract to, well, firstly, I really saw a lot of people getting into paddle from an investment point of view, from a club building view, from a playing point of view. And I saw an opportunity to focus on the storytelling side of paddle. And I didn't see anyone else doing this. And I thought, look, the businesses in this sport are going to need to be promoted and to have their profiles growing over time. And I thought an opportunity was there to do that. And my background is in promoting and in marketing. And I saw an opportunity to really grow the profile of these businesses, whether they're clubs, whether they're players, conferences. So I set up Paddle 22 in 2022, and I've been running with it ever since. And yeah, the big markets have been here at home in the UK and also the US. The sport is obviously very new in the US, as we know, but actually it's really starting to accelerate with growth now. So I've been very immersed in kind of US projects as well because I've seen a great opportunity there with the sport.
Yeah, of course, we see how paddle is growing up, especially in the United States, which is a market that is very fast with this sport. You actually probably hear about the new settle of Arturo Coelho, one of the most important players. How you see this change inside like the paddle for the future, especially in United States, of course.
I think the United States is a fascinating case study for paddle because it's the world's largest sports market. It's probably the most famous country in the world today, and they love their sport. They have a deep and rich history of sport with the major leagues, as we know, with baseball, American football, basketball. We know this, but individual sports, also have their history there, and sports like tennis and golf are very deeply embedded in American society as well as internationally. And I think there's a great love of racket sports in America as well, as many countries, and we've seen that with pickleball in recent years. Now we see it with paddle. People are starting to get to know paddle more, particularly in Miami and Florida and other parts of the US like Texas, New York and the East Coast, California. There are different pockets of where paddle is growing. And I think it's a fascinating case study because, when America gets into something, whether it's sport or a particular trend, it really embraces it. And we're now starting to see the sport get a bit of attention in the media, a bit of attention with celebrities like, Daddy Yankee with a pro paddle league team, with, other celebrities, kind of sports stars playing paddle. And I think these sort of things get people's attention. And it's really, in my view, it's going to really start to grow in the US because it's a very addictive type of sport. It's very easy to pick up compared to more technical sports like tennis and golf and squash. And I think it's got all the ingredients to be a massive success. So I really think the US is the big, interesting country to watch. There are other countries I think will be fascinating. India, China, big countries to see where they go with paddle. But the United States is very much one to watch in 2025. And I think we're already starting to see the reality here. Look, we seen some clever marketing done. We saw the floating paddle court in Miami recently.
Yeah.
We've seen, some big kind of statements made by people trying to get paddle into the public attention, and this is an exciting journey.
Yeah, of course. I saw how many different projects around United States, all around all around the different states are like growing up.
Mm.
In your uh, point of view, how is like the manage of the owners of the clubs there in United States to promote more about like the paddle scene, professional amateur field.
I think every club owner or business owner in paddle right now in a country like the United States feels the need to promote paddle. And if they don't, they probably should. And I don't just say that because I come from the promotional industry. Actually, there's absolutely a need because we all need paddle to be better known amongst the bigger population. We need more people aware of paddle, more people on court playing paddle, more people watching paddle for the sport to grow and for these businesses and clubs to be successful. So there was a need in the early years for, people talk about competition and they talk about, is this club a competitor? I don't believe in that of club competition in a country like the US right now for many years, because I think actually we need as many clubs as possible and we need as many courts as possible for all of these businesses to be successful, because we just need paddle, ubiquitous. We need it more in more places and more visible. So I think a lot of the club owners and the players and the coaches, they see the need to talk about paddle more, to bring it to people's attention, to get more people on court trying it for the first time. Because once you get on court, 99% love it. So yeah, I think the big picture is most people understand there's a need to really get paddle out there more into the mainstream society. And obviously that's my job and my company's job is to help them do that.
And in UK and in new European markets, how you see it?
It's moving at different speeds everywhere, but I think something like the UK, I always say at the moment is 2 years ahead of the US. I think 2 years ago we were sort of seeing where the US is now. What I would actually say of the US is it's now moving slightly quicker than the UK in terms of growth. But other European markets, they're ahead of the UK. You look at, I would say France is slightly ahead of the UK in terms of growth. Germany may be slightly behind. Obviously, there's other countries which are more advanced. The Netherlands is, there's been a lot of facilities in Holland in recent years, but we can learn lessons from Sweden. I think other Scandinavian countries are doing it well. We're seeing Norway and Denmark embrace paddle. And then, of course, the Latin and the Mediterranean markets love their paddle. Let's look at kind of Italy. They're one of the biggest paddle countries now. Spain, we know their history. So there's different countries moving at different speeds, but I think we're really now starting to see this sport talked about in many, many countries in Europe and in fact other countries. I look at South Africa, a big sports passionate country, starting to really embrace paddle. And then, like I said earlier, the next frontier perhaps is Asia. So many people, it's such a populated part of the world. We're going to see happen in some of those bigger countries.
Yeah, I uh, I am inside this industry, so I probably know more or less about that. Thank you, Ben. Another question to you is about your personal projects that you talked before.
Mm-hmm.
What about Paddle 22?
Sure. So Paddle 22 is a communications and marketing company for paddle. So we work with clubs, we work with players, conferences like Racket X or like the Paddle World Summit. We work with the professional side. So we work with the leagues like the Hexagon Cup and tournaments. And we work with, individuals. So business people and executives who want to maybe grow their own profile to secure sponsorship or to grow their business network. So we work with different sectors within the sport. And the type of work we do is everything from public relations. So, trying to grow the awareness and grow the stories around these businesses. We focus on content marketing as well. So helping some of these executives with their articles, with their posts on LinkedIn. We do a lot of media placement, securing interviews and media coverage. We do content on Instagram and social media channels for businesses, put together strategies. So all of these different parts of the marketing wheel, I suppose, are what we focus on. And we're working with some fascinating businesses. Like I said, we work with clubs. We worked with Padium in London, one of the biggest, most prominent clubs in the heart of London. We've worked with Paddle House in New York, Tactica in California. We've worked with Baldwin Paddle in South Africa. And then we work with Playtomic as a technology app, and a big community building company, really trying to bring as many people into paddle as possible through court bookings and through finding players. And like I said, Hexagon Cup, Premier Paddle, we're starting to work with at professional level. So a variety of businesses, and they have different objectives. But the big goal is growing paddle, making it more famous, better known, and getting more people excited around it.
Perfect. Recently, also, I read a post about Paddle 22. You posted recently about the top 100 most influential paddle people all around the world. How you select these people? How you enter the filter of selecting these influential?
Yeah, really good question. Well, not me personally, I'm afraid, but we have a team of people, and doing their research, looking at the different emerging countries where paddle is, and it's about the new paddle world. So the countries where it's now new, and where it's emerging fast as a sport. So they'll do their research on the business people in paddle, people doing interesting things, making a success, being innovative, and making sure it's an international reach. So it's not just about the United States. It's not just about the United Kingdom or Germany. It's about where are the different parts of the world where there's some really influential and interesting people trying to move the sport forward. That comes down to research. It comes down to getting to know the industry. So we've got a team of writers and students and people who are passionate about paddle, passionate about the business side of paddle, and they interview people. They do their research on who are the club owners, who are the investors, who are the people really trying to make their mark. And not an easy job to pull together a top 100, because there's many, many more doing a great job as well. But the team try to look at it at one particular point in time, and then a year later, or things change as well. There's new people that come along, so it's always evolving.
Yeah, a tricky question now is, in which position do you think you are inside that in that scale? Yeah,
I don't
because
know.
you are a great professional.
That's very kind. I don't think that answer. Look, I'm doing my best in my own small way to grow the profile of paddle, ultimately, to make sure more people know about it and know why it's an exciting sport, why it's an exciting industry to work in, to be part of. So look, I think that's for others to decide, but I think there's many, many more people out there doing more than me to grow the sport, and I'll bring my own unique experience to it, and try and grow it, try and get I'm about trying to get more people excited into the sport, and enjoying what it's about. I've had a great career, and I've been lucky to have some great experiences, and I want more people to have the opportunity to work in sport, and to work in a sport that they feel is different to others. So so look, that's my ultimate ambition, is to get more people involved in this sport, and to help them on their journey.
Thank you, Ben. Maybe another final question is about the big tournament you are doing between United States and UK. Which is the name, and how is the purpose of that tournament?
Absolutely. So it's called the Anglo-American Paddle Cup, and we're contact a friend of mine in the industry, Bill Ullman, who's become the new president of the US Paddle Association. We spoke last summer about there's a need really to have a Britain v America tournament. We thought there's a great history between Great Britain and North America, and so Great Britain and the United States of America in sport. If you think about the Ryder Cup golf, Davis Cup tennis, America's Cup sailing, they all began as America versus Britain. So there's a real narrative and story and history there. We thought, it's a slight ironic twist. These are two very established countries, but they're new countries for paddle. So why don't we create this old story with this new sport and these countries that are new to the sport? So it's focusing on the Britain v America story. It's getting the best of Britain to play the best of America from the 60s category, from the 50s, 40s, and open players. And yeah, really pleased to say we have some of the best players up from each country. We've got the GB number one, and similarly in the US, we've got some top players. And it's going to be in May at Paddle House in New York. 2 days of competition. And yeah, people will be playing for their own age categories, but they'll also be playing for their country. So we're really excited about creating something special that in future hopefully then has ranking points and becomes a sanctioned event that's part of the international paddle calendar. That's our ambition.
It looks amazing about the project you are doing. So, if the people want like to connect with you, how can they do that?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I encourage people to, if they want to follow me and my journey in paddle online, they can follow on Instagram at the Paddle PR. Or if they want to follow my company, Paddle 22, and what we're doing and how we're trying to move things forward for the sport, it's Paddle 22 Global is the handle. And look, they can check our website out, paddle22.com. And find my email there as well. And yeah, I encourage people to get in touch if they've got any paddle business, they want advice, support on how to make their mark in the sport. We're here to help, and we are hugely motivated by that.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for this minute. It was a pleasure to have a guest of the scale of you, a real important person all around the world inside paddle industry. Thank you.
Thank you. Absolute pleasure, Jose. Thanks for having me on.